October 4th, 2023. A woman sits across from her boss in a glass conference room, asking for a $20,000 raise. She's prepared spreadsheets, performance reviews, market research. She lays out her case like a lawyer presenting evidence. Her boss listens politely, nods at the right moments, and says no. She pushes harder, lists her accomplishments, mentions competing offers, talks about her value to the company. The more she talks, the more he shuts down. By the end of the meeting, she's not just denied the raise, she's damaged the relationship entirely. Here's what she didn't know. Every word she spoke was making it less likely he'd say yes. Not because her points were wrong, but because she had no clue how human decisions actually work. Chris Voss spent 24 years negotiating with people who had nothing left to lose. Bank robbers, kidnappers, terrorists holding hostages, people who'd rather die than surrender, and somehow he got them to give up. Not through force, not through logic, through something completely different. If you want to negotiate smarter, read people better, and stop giving away power in important conversations, subscribe to Outlaw Wisdom for more book-based lessons on negotiation, power, psychology, and human behavior. Check the links below for Never Split the Difference, including the book and a free audiobook trial. Number 1, The Mirror That Breaks People Open, Brooklyn, New York, 3 a.m. Voss is on the phone with a man who's barricaded himself in an apartment with his girlfriend. The man is drunk, angry, and has a gun. Police surround the building. SWAT teams are in position. Everyone's ready for the worst. Traditional negotiation would sound like this. Sir, you need to calm down. Let's talk about what you want. We can work something out. Instead, Voss does something that sounds almost stupid. He simply repeats the last few words the man says, but as a question. Man, you don't understand what she did to me. Voss, what she did to you? Man, she's been lying for months. I found the messages. Voss, the messages? Man, yeah, the messages. She said they were just friends, but I saw what he wrote. Something strange happens. The man starts talking more, not because Voss is pushing him, but because he feels heard. Within an hour, the gun is down. The girlfriend is safe. The man walks out with his hands up. This technique, called mirroring, works because of how your brain is wired. The second someone repeats your words back to you, your brain screams, explain more. To elaborate, to keep talking. It's not logical, it's neurological. That woman asking for a raise, she should have started with mirroring, not arguing. Boss, I don't think the budget allows for that kind of increase right now. Her, the budget doesn't allow for it? Watch what happens. He'll start explaining the real reasons, the actual constraints, information she can work with instead of walls she can't break through. Number 2, the psychology of no that changes everything. Here's where most people get negotiations completely backwards. They think yes is the goal. They think agreement is success. Dead wrong. Voss learned this during a kidnapping case in Haiti. American executives were being held for ransom. The kidnappers wanted $2 million. The families wanted to pay it. Standard negotiation wisdom said to find a middle ground, get to yes, save lives. Voss said no to the entire approach. Instead of trying to get the kidnappers to agree to anything, he protected their right to refuse everything. You probably don't want to let them call home. You're probably not interested in extending the deadline. I'm sure you don't want to consider a lower amount. Every time he said this, they felt safe to say no. And every time they said no, they explained why. Those explanations revealed their real situation. They weren't professional criminals, they were desperate. They needed money fast, but they also needed to avoid attention from local police. Within days, the ransom dropped from $2 million to $50,000. The executives came home alive. This works because no feels like safety. The second someone asks you to say yes to something, your brain activates threat detection. What am I agreeing to? What am I giving up? What if this is a trap? But when someone makes it easy to say no, you relax. You start thinking instead of defending. That salary negotiation, don't ask your boss to agree to the raise. Ask questions that let him say no safely. Is there absolutely no way the company could consider adjusting my compensation this year? He'll say no, but then he'll explain the real obstacles. Budget freezes until Q3. New approval processes, competing priorities. Now you're negotiating with reality instead of resistance. Number 3, the label that unlocks truth, Las Vegas. A man calls the suicide hotline. He's standing on the roof of a casino, ready to jump. The negotiator on the phone isn't trying to talk him out of it. She's doing something that sounds almost cruel. She's naming his pain. It sounds like you feel completely alone. It seems like you think nobody would care if you were gone. It looks like you've been carrying this weight for a really long time. Each time she says this, he starts talking more. Not about jumping, about why he wants to. His business failed, his wife left, his kids won't return his calls. He feels like a burden to everyone he loves. She's not agreeing with him. She's not disagreeing. She's labeling his emotions, and something remarkable happens. The more she labels what he's feeling, the less power those feelings have over him. This technique, tactical empathy, works because emotions want to be seen. Label someone's feelings accurately, and their brain releases the emotional pressure. They can think clearly again. They can consider other options. 2 hours later, he steps away from the edge. Voss calls this tactical empathy in Never Split the Difference. It's not about being nice, it's about being accurate. Name what someone is really feeling, and they'll trust you with the truth. Business negotiations, family arguments, customer service calls. The pattern is always the same. People don't want solutions to emotions they feel you don't understand. Label the emotion first, solve the problem second. It seems like you're frustrated that this process is taking so long. It sounds like you feel like your concerns aren't being heard. It looks like you think I'm not taking this seriously. Once they confirm you understand how they feel, they'll let you help them think about what to do. Number 4, questions that control without controlling. Federal building, downtown Los Angeles. Voss is facing 3 bank robbers who've taken 16 hostages. They want a helicopter, fuel, and safe passage to Mexico. They've given the FBI 1 hour to deliver, or people start dying. Standard protocol would be direct negotiation. Counteroffers, compromise, meet them halfway. Voss tries something different. Instead of making statements, he asks questions, but not just any questions. Calibrated questions. Questions that force the other person to solve your problem. How am I supposed to get a helicopter here in the middle of downtown traffic? What happens if the pilot refuses to fly? How do we make sure nobody gets hurt during the transfer? Notice what's happening. He's not saying no to their demands. He's making them think through the practical problems. The more they try to solve his questions, the more they realize their plan won't work. They started asking for different things. Ground transportation instead of air. A route they'd mapped out, more time to plan the logistics. 6 hours later, they walked out with their hands up. Nobody got hurt. These calibrated questions work because they shift the mental burden. Instead of you having to change their mind, they have to solve your problems. It feels collaborative, not adversarial. Back to that salary conversation. Don't tell your boss why you deserve more money. Ask him questions that make him think through the problem. What would need to happen for the company to prioritize retaining top performers? How should someone in my position demonstrate they're ready for the next level? What would you do if you were in my situation? Now he's solving your career problem with you, not defending the company budget against you. Subscribe to catch the psychological tactics most people never learn, the ones that actually work when stakes are high and emotions are running hot. Number 5. The power play that sounds like surrender. Here's the technique that sounds completely backwards until you see it work. Voss calls it accusation auditing. You say all the negative things the other person is thinking about you before they can say them. Pittsburgh. A pharmaceutical company is being sued by families who lost relatives to contaminated medication. The settlement talks are going nowhere. The families want $50 million. The company is offering $5 million. Both sides are dug in. Trust is gone. The company's negotiator walks into the mediation and starts with this. You probably think we don't care about what happened to your families. You probably think we're just trying to minimize our losses and protect our stock price. You're probably wondering if we even feel guilty about this. The room goes quiet. These are exactly the thoughts running through the families' heads, but now that the company has said them out loud, the families can't use them as weapons. We do care. We are guilty. And we want to do right by you, even though we know money can't bring anyone back. The settlement reached $28 million, more than the company wanted to pay, less than the families originally demanded, but enough that everyone could live with it. Accusation auditing works because it removes the other person's ammunition. They can't attack you with thoughts you've already acknowledged. It also demonstrates self-awareness, which builds trust even in hostile situations. Your next difficult conversation? Start by naming all the reasons the other person might not want to help you. You're probably thinking I haven't been here long enough to ask for this. You might be wondering if I'm just going to leave for more money somewhere else. You could be concerned that other people will ask for the same thing. Once you've said what they're thinking, they'll stop thinking it so loudly. They'll start listening to what you're actually asking for. Most people lose negotiations without realizing it. They think it's about logic, who has more power, and who wants it more. They're wrong. It's about reading the person across from you and speaking to the brain that actually makes decisions. The emotional brain, the one that feels safe or threatened, heard or ignored, respected or manipulated. Chris Voss spent decades learning these lessons in rooms where getting it wrong meant people died. But the techniques work just as well in conference rooms, car dealerships, and conversations with your teenager about curfew, because human psychology doesn't change based on the stakes. The brain that responds to tactical empathy during a hostage crisis is the same brain that responds to mirroring during a salary negotiation. In 2026, everything is faster, more competitive, more automated. But the most important conversations still happen between humans. And humans still make decisions the same way they always have, with emotions first, logic second. The person who understands this wins. The person who doesn't loses without understanding why. If you want to negotiate smarter, read people better, and stop giving away power in important conversations, subscribe to Outlaw Wisdom for more book-based lessons on negotiation, power, psychology, and human behavior. Check the links below for Never Split the Difference, including the book and a free audiobook trial.